Hello everyone, welcome to the second Azure Stack webinar, How to Integrate, Operate and Offer Services. My name is Sharbel Nimnom and I am a Microsoft MVP for Cloud and Data Center Management. I work as Cloud Solution Architect at ITnetics, a consulting and engineering company located in Switzerland. Thank you folks for joining us today. Hope you are having a wonderful day where we are. We have a packed agenda for you today, so let's get started. In the next 30 minutes or so, I will talk about how Microsoft Azure Stack is integrated in your data center, how it is operated, and how it can be used to offer services to your customers and developers. And I will also talk about Azure Stack Development Kit, a free single server deployment option that lets you test Azure Stack and prototypes your applications and services before you commit to purchase an Azure Stack Integrated System. So let's get started. If you have missed the last week's webinar, my colleague and a dear friend, Thomas Morer, Microsoft MVP, talked about Azure Stack, what it is meant for, and discussed the real Microsoft Hybrid Cloud benefits delivered by Microsoft Azure Stack. So I highly encourage you to watch the recording. So we'll start first by talking about Azure Stack services and the marketplace. Today, most enterprises want a hybrid cloud model due to data regularity or sovereignty requirement to unify application development needs. So Azure Stack, as you might know, that it is an extension of Azure Public Cloud aimed at providing the benefit of Azure Cloud computing capabilities via on-premises environment without raising some of the security concern of the public cloud. With Azure Stack, you can deliver Azure services from your organization's data center while balancing the right amount of flexibility and control for truly consistent hybrid cloud deployments. You can also empower your IT teams to consume services such as infrastructure as a service and a platform as a service for fully continuous deployment experience and integration. What you get by default when you install Azure Stack are just infrastructure as a service capabilities. So you have compute, virtual machines, containers with Docker, networking, storage, and Key Vault to actually stand up a real infrastructure as a service environment. And the last month, Microsoft also introduced a new VM series. The AV2 series and F series virtual machines are now available in Azure Stack. So expect more and more come in the distant future. So you can see the roadmap and follow what's coming along the way. Also Azure Stack, we have also several resource providers. And these are bringing the PaaS, Platform as a Service capabilities to your data centers. So we have Azure App Service, Functions, Service Fabric, Azure Container Service, and Cloud Foundry. So this is what's available with Azure Stack today, and more will come to Stack in the not too distant future. So Microsoft do not want basically to enforce that all customers will install all of these PaaS services or PaaS capabilities on Azure Stack for a couple of different reasons. One, not everyone might use the same services. And the second, all of these take up space on your Azure Stack. So you get the choices, you have complete flexibility on what you want to offer for your customers and your IT teams. We'll move now to how you can manage access to Azure and Azure Stack resources. In Azure, actually, Azure presents a number of offers you can subscribe to, such as pay-as-you-go model, enterprise agreement, if you have the right agreement, via CSP channels, cloud solution provider, MSDN, trial, etc. So there's a lot of subscription available, so you can subscribe in Azure Public Cloud. However, in Azure Stack, example, you are the provider. So you define the offer, you set the quota specific to each offer, you set the prices as well for each resource metric. And when you need to provide to your customers, actually there are 4 high-level steps that you want to go through by defining a quota to determine the upper limit the resource subscribe can consume, and the plan, which are actually a use of a group of several quotas together as a logical unit, and an offer used to make one or more plan available to your users. And at the end, subscription is how tenants, user, or group sign up to your offers. So let's talk now about Azure Stack Marketplace solution, which is available that you can use. So Azure Marketplace, it's already available in public cloud. It's an online store that contains certified services that you can use through open source, community software, application developer services, and data which can also be configured and run in Azure Stack. So with the power of Azure Stack syndication service, you can syndicate and download different solution types directly from Azure Marketplace to Azure Stack. Solutions are such type existing pre-built images, solutions, vendor virtual machine images, vendor ISV vendor VM extension, and solution also can pre-build a solution so you can syndicate them as well. However, it should be noted that do not expect that all Azure Marketplace images and VM extension will be available, will be present in Azure Stack. This does dependent on the software vendor ISV that needs to mark their image as Azure Stack capable. So if you wish to deploy a solution with dependency, it should be developed and deployed as a self-contained image. You can also add VM images, so you can custom your virtual machine into Azure Stack, and you can upload them via PowerShell or the Azure Stack admin portal, and then easily your customers and your IT teams can provision these images directly from the portal. What also you can create and custom your marketplace items. You can download, it's available online, how to create and publish a custom marketplace by downloading an Azure Gallery package tool. After that, you can represent any ARM template that you can be added to Azure Stack can also be used. And then you can add it, upload after you package that template, or you can upload it to Azure Blob Stack storage. After that, you can publish it by using the Azure PowerShell Azure Gallery item. So you can see in this example that I have created a template VM that the user can customize. I can use it on demand. And also, by extension, Azure VM extension is also available in Azure Public, that you can also help you to post deployment after you provision VM. For example, you want to automate the software installation, for example, Docker, antivirus, custom scripts for Linux as well. Those can be run using various Azure tools such as Azure CLI, PowerShell, Azure Resource Manager template, and Azure Portal. Those can be bundled when you provision the new virtual machine or against an existing VM as well. So the VM extensions are actually not treated as the same as normal VM images in Azure Stack Marketplace. Now we will move to how you can integrate Azure Stack into your data center. We will start first by, as you can see in the slide, about there are different touch points that data center integration. So when you have Azure Stack in your environment, it's kind of sitting in very island on its own, right? So it needs to talk to these various components in order to be fully functional as a solution. So for network, for example, it needs to have an IP space, the top of rack switches that bring the network, the syslog server for your log collection, your NTP IP address for time sync, device authentication if you are using any. And on the underlying stack is the DNS identity, Azure Active Directory or ADFS, your firewall rules, the certificate, and the ITSM management. So on this slide, the topmost layer that you can see is something that you know more or less we need to do before the Azure Stack installation. And on the top bottom is more or less what we need after Azure Stack is installed, like the firewall, specifically ITSM, and so on. If we look at the subnet and name and subnet size, so these are the subnet overall that will be used for infrastructure, storage, the BMC, network, the switch management, and the public web addresses that will be used, and the subnet sizes that are required before you start deploying Azure Stack. What I want really to focus over here is if you look at the infrastructure, we just have one network. We have 3 for the switches, but what I want to drive your attention is to watch the host NIC 1 and host NIC 2. So when you are planning for multi-node servers, per scale unit. You can see we have 32 addresses ranges over there. So this is done because the network layout is designed at deployment time. So we don't want to be changing the network when you add a new server or new scale unit. So the network should be designed just once. We want to keep enough capacity in order to accommodate new nodes, new scale units in that point of view. The same thing goes for storage as well. So in case you have additional storage nodes coming in, you should be very flexible to accommodate that as well. As you are probably aware that Azure Stack leverages storage spaces direct or hyper-converged infrastructure for storage. Now let's talk about DNS integration. DNS integration is pretty straightforward. You will provide a couple of IP addresses which can do the name resolution for your company. Those will be used and incorporated in your Azure Stack deployment. So how it really works, you do conditional forwarding to your internal DNS servers. So when where they can do name resolution for the zones which they are not authoritative, like for example Bing.com. Azure Stack internal DNS server don't know what is Bing.com. So conditional forwarding is a recommended way, but of course you can have stop zones. You can use also the root hints as another method of doing the name resolution from your external DNS servers. For portal authentication option as well, as you know, Azure Stack is deployed into either in connected or in disconnected mode. In connected mode, we can go either with Azure AD for authentication. So over here, what you see in this slide, where Azure Stack on the left-hand side represented by the red boxes, those are the Azure Stack components. Like the portal that itself does different authentication than Azure Resource Manager layer. And your resource provider will do separate authentication as well. So the ARM resources technically will be doing separate authentication directly to your Azure AD online services, and your resource provider, like compute resource provider, storage resource provider, will also be doing in Azure AD authentication. But anything that is below the resource provider layer, like compute controller, storage controller, those are dependent on certificate-based authentication. For example, the compute controller will be doing certificate-based authentication, but anything that below compute controller, like the actual hypervisor stack, Hyper-V, that's where Kerberos is used. So no NTLM at all. NTLM is kind of disabled in Azure Stack. Talking about identities from existing corporate AD, in case you choose ADFS, not Azure Active Directory, so you will have an ADFS deployment internal that will be responsible for authentication for all of these layers. However, for your tenants, customers, you need to create a relying party trust with your customer, with their ADFS environment, and that something has to be done manually, separately. And that's where your internal ADFS and your customer's ADFS environment will trust through the relying on party trust, and you can authenticate from there on. These concepts are very similar to what we have today, but this is how it gets applied in Azure Stack. Now, if you want to integrate the ITSM management integration, the ITSM again need to be integrated separately after your Azure Stack is deployed. So now over here, there are three things that you need to look into separately when you're integrating your Azure Stack with your ITSM solutions. One, of course, your Azure Stack software. Second is your physical servers, the actual hardware component. This is your physical network devices. These are the three things that you need to look at individually when you want to integrate with your ITSM solution. So your Azure Stack software will have the REST APIs that you can use for integrating and monitoring a solution. Your integrated system, physical servers, will talk to the BNC network. But for those, the OEM hardware will provide certain tools for that. The OEM tools will read the logs from here and then deploy it on your monitoring solution. I will give you an example in the next slide, which will make more sense. And the third is network devices. So your network devices can be again integrated with your monitoring solution using the SNMP protocol. Your monitoring solution will talk to your network devices, and once everything is in your monitoring solution, you can implement the ticketing services and talking to it. So let's look over here an example. So in case you are looking at monitoring your Azure Stack environment, which is very important, for Azure Stack software, on the first column on the left-hand side, that's where we talk to Azure Stack APIs. And we already have management packs available for System Center Operations Manager, SCOM. So you just have to deploy this management pack, and it gets integrated with your Azure Stack software using the APIs. We also have the Nagios plugins available. Of course, you can use PowerShell and other commands as well. Talking about the physical server really works on the BMC network, which talk to the BMC controller, but we also have management packs available from the hardware vendor, such as HPE, Dell EMC, Lenovo, and Cisco. They will have management packs for System Center Operations Manager that can be used to gather hardware-related alerts from your Azure Stack environment. So other than that, we can also use Nagios as well. There are plugins available. And of course, your OEM themselves will have different monitoring tools sit on the hardware lifecycle host, HLH, such as HPE OneView. Talking about network devices, we are looking at the SNMP protocol, which can then be integrated directly with SCOM, again using the network device discovery. We have the Nagios switch plugin. The OEM, again, will provide some tools on the hardware lifecycle host. Looking at monitoring your tenant subscription, you can do it directly via OMS, Operation Management Suite. It's online version available. Or if you already have System Center Operations Manager, you can leverage the management pack available for that. So actually, it's all available there. It's up to you how it's going ahead and integrating all that. Now let's look at the edge deployment. So Azure Stack can be deployed in edge scenarios behind a firewall, and it doesn't need to be directly open to the internet. It's something that Microsoft, of course, recommend using firewalls so you can get enhanced protection against DDoS attacks, intrusion detection, content inspection, and so on. So Azure Stack can be certainly deployed behind firewalls, and Azure Stack will use access list, ACLs, to keep the internal network private and completely secure. If you look now in the enterprise scenario, in case you have a DMZ environment, like most enterprise organizations definitely do, we can deploy Azure Stack in a DMZ kind of architecture as well. So where Azure Stack is sitting in an internal network, and then you have DMZ and then the edge router. In this case, what we need to look into is the netting portion. So if you see over here between the DMZ and the internal network, we have firewall, which kind does the netting for us. The perimeter network is where external or internet-facing applications like web server are typically deployed. It's usually monitored by a firewall to avoid attacks while still allowing specific inbound traffic from the internet. And only the external network public VIP pool of Azure Stack should reside in the DMZ zone. So that's something you want to keep in mind. But other than that, your DMZ environment will also work in Azure Stack. The last slide that I want to talk about in data center integration is security logs. So what kind of log Microsoft collect? So they collect Windows system logs, application logs, security event logs, Active Directory application logs, diagnostic logs, DNS log, and so on. How they collect those logs? They collect it using Azure Monitoring Agent, which is already available in Azure Stack. Where they are collected in a Fabric resource provider storage account. So every resource provider has its own storage account. In a production environment, you will have a dedicated storage account for Fabric. This will be a storage account that will kind of host all your diagnostic logs, alerts, and everything related to that. And how you can access that log? You can use the very famous Microsoft Storage Explorer tool. So if you are familiar with the Storage Explorer, it's a tool that you can download for free from Azure and connect to any storage account, either in Azure Stack or public Azure. Let's now jump to the Azure Stack Development Kit. Azure Stack Development Kit, which is a kit known as ASDK. So what Azure Stack Development Kit is a powerful free software that you can use for prototyping applications that are consistent across Azure clouds. It's a dev test cloud environment that's using APIs and tooling that are consistent across Azure and Azure Stack. So Azure Stack Dev Kit is a single node deployment that you can use it for testing all services that are available today on Azure Stack. So why you should care, why you should use it? Definitely for prototype your applications, to learn and get started with Azure Stack. And finally, to prepare your IT teams for the new hybrid model. And why Azure Stack is important? Because it's a minimum scale, sit on single node. It is a simple concept, so you can use all of the platform as a service available in Azure Stack. And there is, again, consistency ecosystem along public Azure, Azure Stack, and Azure Stack Dev Kit. And finally, it is easy to install using simple PowerShell script. It will be completely deployed in a couple of hours. So before you start deploying Azure Stack Development Kit, you need to make sure your system meets the minimum hardware, obviously, and software requirements. That in terms of disk, storage, memory, and network. So you can get any single node that's showing on the slide from your favorite OEM hardware, or you can also create your own mini Azure Stack, as I did here, using Supermicro. Of course, if you have more memory available, you can use and deploy more services. Everything is well documented here, so please check out these links. And in terms of networking consideration, you need to make sure that Azure Stack Kit is behind a NAT and can access the internet. That means you can also deploy Azure Stack Dev Kit in a connected scenario with Azure AD Active Directory, or you can deploy it in a disconnected scenario with ADFS. Okay, now you have deployed Azure Stack Dev Kit. It will take around 4 to 5 hours. What you should do next? There are 4 simple tasks that you will do post-deployment. First, you need to register Azure Stack with public Azure subscription. When Azure Stack is registered, you can populating items from the Azure Marketplace. Because we have consistency between Azure Stack, you will be able to bring from Azure Marketplace to Azure Stack default images. And because we have the same cloud experience, you can also create offers and plans. And finally, all the ARM templates are consistent in Azure Stack Development Kit, in Azure, and in Azure Stack Integrated Systems. So it will be easy for you to create your own prototype tools and test your applications. So what are the resources that you can use with Azure Stack Dev Kit? The resources are consistent, again, between Azure Stack Dev Kit, Azure Stack, and Azure Public Azure. The quick start templates are the repository of ARM templates available on GitHub that you can download them and get up to speed. There are also the available Azure Stack PowerShell modules, the Azure Stack tool that you can use with Azure Stack to deploy infrastructure as a service and platform as a service are PowerShell. You can use Azure CLI, the Visual Studio Code, Visual Studio Team Services. And again, these tools are consistent between Azure Dev Kit, Azure Stack, and Public Azure. So you learn once, and you can use it across all clouds. And the Azure services which are available on Azure Dev Kit, the platform as a service, are also available in Azure Stack Dev Kit. So you have unified development across Azure clouds, unified resource across Azure cloud as well, and you have the same experience as a cloud administrator. The same platform as a services also available in Azure Stack Dev Kit as in Azure Stack Integrated System. Now, if we'll move to the Azure Stack licensing model, I will not go into about pricing, more into about the licensing model that we have today. As you might know, that Azure Stack is licensing divided into two models: the consumption model, which is pay as you go, that you already know in public Azure, and the capacity model. So the consumption model is exactly what we have in public Azure today. It is pay-as-you-go model. You pay basically for the services that you are utilizing. It has the same type of subscription, monetary commitment. You get your invoices in Azure, and it is available for enterprise agreement EA and CSP channels. If we look at the second model, the capacity model, we are looking for a fixed fee, which will not change in the duration of the contract. You are looking for an annual subscription. The fees are based on the physical cores that support your Azure Stack Integrated Systems. So how many cores you have is what you will be licensing in the capacity model. And based on that, you have unlimited access. However, it is only available for enterprise agreement EA partner. There is no CSP who can make up the use of capacity planning model. So in the consumption model, pay as you use, how Microsoft capture the usage in the background and presented back to you. Actually, this slide shows we have 3 services that you should keep in mind. Within Azure Stack, there are 2 services. First is the usage service, which is responsible for talking to the resource provider. So the usage service is something that talks to individual resource provider, like for example, the compute resource provider. It will try to understand how many virtual machines are running, what type of virtual machine, what is the amount of time they run for. The amount of time is going to be on the hourly basis, not on the minutes basis. And will also gather information around subscription and the tenants. So which subscription are those VM associated with, and the number of hours. It is going to capture all that information. The same thing for virtual network and storage account, for any app service as well. The usage service will gather that information and populate the database. There is component, as you can see on the right-hand side, called usage database that sits internally in Azure Stack. The second service is called the usage bridge. The usage bridge is a service that will come alive every 1 hour, 60 minutes, and then we'll go ahead and talk to the usage database and capture the fresh data that it has, and we'll talk to the Azure-based service in the cloud called usage gateway. It will pick up that fresh data and communicate that to the Azure usage gateway service. The Azure User Gateway Service is responsible for talking to the Azure Commerce in the backend. The Azure Commerce is where you interact with the APIs, and the billing portal also comes from there. So Azure Commerce will be responsible for populating your billing portal with the right information. So this is how really the data are captured from Azure Stack in the backend. So if we look at the licensing Azure Stack services on Azure Stack, so if you look at the Azure Stack right at the bottom, we have the actual hardware. There is no licensing cost associated with the hardware. There is no licensing cost associated with Azure Stack internal software, the software that Microsoft provides. Also, there is no licensing cost for the virtual machine or services that you create, except for the consumption. So how much you use them is what's going to be charged. There is no licensing cost. There is no licensing cost for the web apps as well, the PaaS services, but only the consumption. However, if you are looking at the licensing cost for the SQL resource provider, so in case you are running SQL Server in a virtual machine, you are looking at ingest licensing. That's something that you need to bring by yourself. So as a tenant, if I'm running a SQL Server in a virtual machine, I need to bring the license by myself. My SQL may not always have a cost license associated with the Linux version, but it's something that you have to decide. Now, to understand the total cost of Azure Stack, ownership around Azure Stack, this slide shows a very basic example. It may not be related to a particular scenario, but more like a high-level overview on how we should be looking at the total cost for Azure Stack. The majority of the cost around Azure Stack is the hardware, because you are purchasing the hardware. That's the infrastructure platform that will be running all the services. So that's like a one-time cost. you will be looking at one-time cost for installation as well, because the installation for Azure Stack Integrated System is always done by the OEM vendor, such as HPE. You want to look at support services cost, maybe like support agreements. Then you are looking at the Azure services that you are going to run on Azure Stack. All those are metered. So this is how you will be looking at the total cost of Azure Stack. Of course, that does not include any facilities-specific cost like the rack space, power of data center, operation cost. With that, I will jump to a quick demo, which is running on Azure Stack Dev Kit. So here, my Azure Stack development environment. So I will log in as an Azure Stack tenant to consume resources. Okay. So try again. So here you go. I logged in as a normal user. I have already a subscription provided by my Azure Stack cloud operator. So here I have an internet subscription. What I can do that I have all the platform services installed in Azure Stack. I will create a function which is part as a web app service. So here I have a function called ITNetX function running as an app service. Great. So this function is already subscribed. So I come here and create new function. So it's webhook API with C#. You can choose the language that you would like to use and click create this function. So the function requires, of course, a storage account in the back end. If you come here, so for example, you can So for example, here the name of the function, you can change it to welcome to Azure Stack webinar. After that, you can save it or run it. So when you run that function, it's very simple, give you an output, welcome, hello, welcome to Azure Stack webinar. So this is a very simple example that running a function in Azure Stack as well. So also you can syndicate, you can create a Kubernetes cluster as well. So if I jump here, it's provided for me under the compute, so you can create a Kubernetes cluster, which is in this still private preview, and you can, any marketplace item that is already available to you, you can consume it. So this is you can develop, test your application. This is an Azure Stack Dev Kit environment. And so to get started with Azure Stack, what you want to look to get started. So first of all, you have seen the Azure Stack benefit and the cloud consistency across all public and the hybrid deployment. So first, you need to develop your application in Azure. You want to get started in Azure first. You want to make sure your solution will work in Azure Stack. So you can validate your application by downloading the Azure Stack Development Kit. Super easy, sits on a single server. And once your development kit is deployed, as I show you in my demo here, you can deploy some application from GitHub, deploy some ARM templates, try editing them in Visual Studio as well. Visual Studio Code, you can try out some PaaS services, try out the app services, try out some functions as well. And then once you really test and validate your application, you can order an Azure Stack Integrated System from your favorite hardware vendor and move to production deployment. Last but not least, also Itnetics also offers managed Azure Stack as an Azure Stack instance in your data center operated by Itnetics engineers. So you can sit back, relax, and consume Azure Stack as if it has Microsoft Azure. Itnetics engineer will take care of capacity management, update, monitoring, and many other operation tasks. With that, we come to the end of today's webinar. We hope this webinar has been informative to you, and I would like to thank you for attending. Thank you.